Welcome to Beyond Synth. Please note, Beyond Synth is an explicit program and may contain inappropriate language. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
Hey there, welcome to the show. My name is Andy Last, and you are listening to Beyond Synth. This is episode 37. Now, I know I made a big deal last episode that the format of the show was going to change. And to be fair, I still don't know what that change is going to be. I started recording new interviews, and the intention was that the new show was going to be a mix of new music and shorter interviews. And once I started recording new interviews, it turned out that they were pretty much exactly the same as the interviews that I've always been recording. Like, it really didn't change too much. So, like that stupid thing they always say in movies, you know, where there's a character who goes like, the only rule is there are no rules, you know, that shit? Well, that's what I think the movement forward with Beyond Synth is going to be. The only format is there is no format. And what that means is I might do an episode that's just purely music. We might do episodes that are just purely, you know, listener feedback and stuff like that. There still might be episodes that are just a 1-hour interview and like that's the show. I'm going to keep you guys on your toes. It's going to make it more interesting for me. It's going to make it more interesting for you listening because you don't know what you're going to get, man. It's like a box of chocolates. Anyway, let's listen to some music. Here is a track that I really, really dig, man. It's called Mainframe by FM84 off the Los Angeles EP. This song is really cool, and we're going to listen to it now. So check out Mainframe by FM84. And that was Mainframe by FM84. That's a cool track off the Los Angeles EP. Again, all the songs I play on the show will be in the SoundCloud description. There will be links so you can go and check out more stuff from those cool people. Hey, I got something fun now. You know I'm a big fan of Italian synthwave producer Vincenzo Salvia, and this guy, who I've always loved talking to him, and he has this poetry about the way he talks and the things that he says. And I asked him for some sage-like words of advice. I said, record me some Vincenzo words of wisdom, which he for some reason refers to as pills of wisdom. Again, a translation thing. So I want you guys to sit down and really take in Vincenzo's Italian words of wisdom.
He who doesn't love spaghetti doesn't love himself.
He who doesn't love spaghetti doesn't love himself. Not a truer word spoken. Vincenzo is a modern genius, and I want you guys all to know that. Later in the show is Gost. I guess I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. I'm not good at this. Look, yeah, Gost. Gost is cool. Gost has a skull for a face. And he makes some intense music inspired by Satan. You understand? And we'll talk to him a bit later on in the show. In the meantime, I want you to listen to this little song called Contra by Betamaxx. And that was Contra by Betamaxx. That's a cool track. I forget even what album that's from. Interface, I think. Get your shit together, man! I gotta get my shit together. Listen, I have this thing, and it drives me nuts, and it's whenever people talk about video games and they don't know what they're talking about. Oftentimes you'll see it in news clips when people talk about Grand Theft Auto and they clearly have never played the game. And it always irritates me, especially the Grand Theft Auto example, only because there's some of the best games, I've ever played. And just the amount of detail and work that goes into them, and then it always just gets simplified down to like, you can hire a prostitute. And anyway, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, WTF, and some guests were on there, 2 women, and they were, what they were on the show for was a good cause. So it was like, creating arts and raising money for women's shelters and stuff like that. Good cause. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is when one of the women talked about Grand Theft Auto being a source of, corruption for children. And then she said this.
Video games, Rose and I were just talking about this, Grand Theft Auto.
The first experience some little boy could have, or girl, playing Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
and
throwing a prostitute.
Right. You get to buy a hooker, then you can actually kill her if you get enough points.
Right.
You can buy a hooker and actually kill her if you get enough points. It makes me really fucking mad when people talk about games and they clearly don't know what they're talking about. And what do they think? Like, that there's a fucking points meter at the top of the screen that, like, once you get 100,000 points, kids, then you can shoot a prostitute. Like, Grand Theft, there are no points. It's not that you can't do that in Grand Theft Auto. I'll make that clear. It's just that when people talk and they don't know what they're talking about, it's really frustrating to listen to, and it sort of affects everything that I hear coming out of their mouth later on. And that's always a thing that can be annoying. I don't know why. I should probably focus this energy towards people talking about stuff that actually matters, like political things and stuff. But no, it's just, when people talk about video games and say the wrong thing, it makes me mad. Hey man, let's listen to a track called Near Dark by Dance with the Dead. And that was Dance with the Dead with their track Near Dark, which is a cool one. Like I said, later on, we're going to be talking to Gost. Before we do, I just thought since Gost was off and he was playing a show with some other cool acts that you know, and I thought I'd play one of those tracks now. So here's Dan Terminus, who Gost mentions later on, and here is Dan Terminus with his track Death by Distortion. was Death by Distortion by Dan Terminus. And yeah, that's a cool track. We're sort of keeping with a theme here today, sort of the little heavier synthwave stuff. I was thinking of having the show have a lot more variety, but I thought it would be very strange for people tuning in who want to listen to an interview with Gost and then I'm playing like happy pop songs like leading up to him, which I was going to do, but I didn't, so the end. All right, guys, listen. We're going to be doing a listener feedback section on the show, and it is called the Mail Sack, all right? So if you have any questions or comments or whatever, send them to the Beyond Synth Facebook page and title the message Mail Sack, or just write Mail Sack at the top of the page, as in a sack of mail. And literally it can be anything, so they don't even have to be synth related. If you just want to ask silly questions just to give us topics to talk about, or if you just have something to say that's going to, springboard some conversation, my postman and I will be addressing those in an upcoming episode. So just a reminder, if you have stuff, just send it to the Facebook page and just title the message Mail Sack, or just write the word Mail Sack in there. That will be that, okay? So now we're going to talk to Gost, or at least I'm going to talk to Gost, and you're going to listen to me talking to Gost. And that is all I know. So here's my chat with Gost. Alrighty, well, this is how it starts. I'm here with Gost, G-O-S-T Gost, aka James Lawler. How's it going?
Good, man. What's up?
So, man, how's it going? How's life?
Life is good, dude. Just really busy, which is always good.
We've been talking back and forth about having you on the podcast for about like 2 years or so.
Yeah, I was starting to feel like super uncool. Everyone else has been on the show, and I'm just like, man, fuck, Andy just doesn't even like me. Yeah.
No, this is the worst. That's why hopefully with the new setup and format, I can finally sort of get to everybody else, because it was never necessarily a favoritism thing. It was just sort of scheduling, and then, like before I changed the format, that last episode I did, which was with Robots with Ray Guns.
Oh, yeah. I talk to him quite often.
Yeah, I recorded that interview in February, and like I just put out that episode like weeks ago. So I was a little behind. Anyways, so let's talk about you, man. So you make some dark, loud music, and you have a skull mask.
Yep, that's true.
So talk a bit about that. What was the I'm going to use the word impetus, but what was going on in your head when you decided you were going to make that the image?
It just kind of fell in place. I always wanted to wear the mask because of people like Danger and Daft Punk. I always thought it was, I don't know, it's cool to have a little bit of mystique with electronic, well, art in general. I think I've always liked it. Like Kiss, I loved them when I was a kid, and when I started it, you know, it was like Gost was going to be a slasher type thing, and all slashers wear masks. And for some reason, no one's made a movie where somebody cut up a human being and put their fucking skull on their face. It seems obvious to me.
For some reason.
But so that was kind of the original premise. And then the demonology and stuff just kind of worked its way in. And Balberith doesn't want to show his true form, so he wears a human skull.
Is that the way that word is pronounced?
That's the way I pronounce it. And I know more than anyone else because the devil talks to me.
Oh, shit. See, because remember when I did that promo for your album, like 2 years ago or last year or something on an old Beyond Synth episode, and I think I said that word differently.
Yeah, I think you made it sound fancier, which is cool.
Yeah.
It was like Balberith or something.
Yeah. Wait, so the mask that you wear, where'd that mask come from?
It's actually the company. It's one guy. He does, I think he does movie kind of effects, like practical effects. And I found him randomly. It's RD Creations. And I don't know where he's based out of, but he's super talented. Because
it is a sort of unique looking skull. As I've mentioned before, he looks very happy. He's a very like happy looking skeleton.
Yeah, that's the thing about skulls is they all look fucking happy in their natural form. You know, if you don't do some weird ass eyebrow shit because they don't have eyebrows. You know how Halloween masks, they superimpose those little fucking, like the skull can actually have feelings.
Were you thinking like Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas, as his sort of eyes can go up and down and stuff? But they're just holes, damn it.
It's a bone, man.
So what came first then? Were you making music and then you sort of said, okay, well, I'm going in this direction now and I'm going to sort of amp this up? Was that stuff you were always interested in, like music-wise, or did you sort of have the image and just think, you know, this is the way I'm going to go? Or
well, I knew I was going to do a mask. I didn't know what the skull thing actually came about around the time the Skull EP came out. So it was like my fourth EP.
So what was going on before then?
Before then, I was just worried about making the music and trying to get better production-wise. And I didn't really have too much of an image. I just knew I wanted it to be horror-driven and that there was going to be a mask once I started performing live.
How does that work then? Because I know you do like live performance. So, I mean, does it get hot in the mask?
It's pretty hot in the mask, man. I can't lie. It's super uncomfortable.
What's the visibility like?
Visibility's good, but I can't really see down very well. So I'm always worried that I'm going to trip, which would be... I actually did trip in San Francisco on the way up to the stage.
Nice. Like a full-on trip or just like a...
Full fucking trip, man. I just kind of ate it and put my hands up and everybody cheered for some reason, whatever. You know, when I'm getting ready for a live show, I usually do 3 or 4, walkthroughs with the whole fucking costume on.
Get a feel of the stage.
Got to get ready. You got to practice your moves.
Speaking of music then here, let's talk about, we'll listen to the track Master, and then once we're done listening to that, maybe you can talk a bit about it.
Sounds good.
right, and that was Master by Gost, who I am talking to right now. So tell me a bit about that track we just heard.
That was one of the first tracks I wrote for Behemoth. When I wrote Behemoth, I wrote that whole album kind of separately. It was going to be an EP first, and then I showed Blood Music the songs, and he was like, let's fucking do this, let's make it a full record. But I think that was like the second or third song I wrote. I was listening to a lot of Redial at the time. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's got like kind of the Kavinsky thing going on. And I had someone ask, because I asked, the fans what they wanted to know about the songs. And someone asked if it was a Kavinsky homage. And I would say, and I think he's probably talking about there's an arpeggio that happens right after the first heavy part. And it's more directly influenced by like a Knight Rider theme, kind of, that kind of thing.
Wait, so it was Blood Music because I know when I was talking before how I did that promo for it, that was when it was going to be an EP. And so I remember that was weird because like we did that promo and then I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah.
About that release again for like a year and a half or something. So like it was Blood Music that pushed you in the direction of making it an album instead.
Like I had been talking to him since he signed Perturbator. James, told him about me, and he's been really awesome as far as helping Gost. So finally I sent him some songs and he was like, oh yeah, we can do something with these. He was like, well, let's do a full record. So, and let's do 5 albums. Yeah.
I guess on the subject then of Blood Music and stuff and Perturbator, you recently were at a pretty cool show that was in Helsinki that you were performing with Perturbator and Terminus and Flash Arnold. So tell me a bit about that. I know even while you guys were going, I was messaging back and forth with Dan.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I was just having a side conversation with him about something. He's just like, "Yeah, I'm in the airport right now. Like, we're gonna do this show or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, right." And then all the pictures went up. But yeah, tell me about that show.
It was awesome, dude. It was cool to finally meet everyone in person because I've been talking to James and Dan for like 3 years now, almost on the internet. So it was cool when Perturbator he got there like a day later, or like 4 a.m, I think is when he got there. And so the next morning, I think I'd gone to the store and I was coming back to the hotel and he's sitting down there and I just walked up behind him and started like caressing his back. And he turned around and he's totally fucking freaked out. And I was like, it's me, dude, it's Gost. And he's like, oh, fuck, man. Yeah. And Dan is, his online character that's how he is in real life. He's all over the fucking place. The guy's all right. As far as the show goes, man, it exceeded all of my expectations. There was at least, they were at least at capacity. 800, I think, is what the number was. And there was like a line starting at like 4 hours before the show that went around the whole block. It was surreal. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it.
How was the show divided up? Like as far as like how much time each of you did?
I think Flash got 30 minutes. Dan got 40. I had 45, and Perturbator had the rest of the night because he's so fucking famous or whatever.
So what's the because I don't really know too much about Flash Arnold, really. I mean, I know some of the music, but I've never really like spoken with him. So
yeah, he's Finnish. He's from Finland. So at the beginning of the night, he was super quiet, but his show was killer, man. He played live guitar with it and everything, and I mean, everybody responded really well. And as the night went on, he got a little drunk and got to see the real Flash Arnold. And he's quite the character. So
did you guys have much time to like chill out, or was it all just sort of business? Or
well, yeah, dude, the venue that Mape is the guy that runs Flashback Future. I mean, he set all this up, as far as I know, with the help of Blood Music getting the promotion and everything going. But the venue itself was pretty big, and they had a nice green room in the back with, the fully stocked bar and everything. So yeah, we hung out the whole night. I mean, starting probably at like 6 o'clock, when we hung out the whole time. When we weren't on stage, we were back there just, doing whatever you do in a green room with liquor.
Wait, so then if you're on stage and you're wearing that mask, I guess you can't really drink when you're performing?
Nope. Dude, I can't drink. I can barely breathe. It's pretty... If you could see my face towards the end of the night, towards the end of my set, I probably look pretty desperate. Somebody help.
Let's talk a bit more about this album. Let's talk about the titular Behemoth track, because that's what the album was called, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about. How about let's listen to it, and then you can talk to me a bit about it. So this is Behemoth by Gost. All right, and that was Behemoth by Gost. And speaking of Gost, I'm talking to Gost right now. So tell me, this new format is going to fail so hard. I'm bad at this. Okay, tell me about that track.
The whole album is kind of about, it's not really a concept record, but the whole time I was thinking about Lucifer's like relationship to God and the other angels and mankind even. And Behemoth is kind of the culmination of him realizing that things weren't going the way he wanted them to go, and he was basically gonna take over or get the fuck out. So I wanted it to be very, the beginning it starts off with all the choir, and I wanted to, it's kind of like the beautiful angel that is Lucifer rising up through the ranks, and it's not funny, man.
Oh, sorry, continue.
and then it kicks in, with how heavy it is and how horrible he is. And towards the end of the track, there's like a total hardcore two-step like riff, if you will, where you can totally mosh to it. I mean, that song as a whole definitely comes out as, I think you can hear that I like metal and that's where I come from.
Were you making music before Gost?
Yeah, for sure. I've been playing in bands since I was 14 years old.
What was your function in those?
I usually played guitar and vocals. I always wanted to be a vocalist, but I'm not that great at it, so it never worked out. Played drums towards the end before I started Gost. And then, well, that's not true. I played drums for probably about 3 or 4 years and then got back to playing guitar. Mostly hardcore and like doom metal is kind of what I played. Mm-hmm. I've always listened to black metal and metal in general. I don't know why. I know that there's a lot of people that think it sucks as a genre, but for some reason, at a certain age, fucking Nirvana and Weezer just wasn't doing it. And I heard, I think Suicidal Tendencies self-titled is the first, heavier record I heard, and I was like, fuck. I had no idea. And then from there, the darker, the better from there.
Where I land on the sort of the music I've been listening to now, and it's, this synthwave and like electronic and stuff, but I always like how, it's the different people who like totally, different types of music, but then how they sort of bring that to more electronic music and stuff. And you can hear those influences. And I like that. Like, I mean, that's what's cool to me. I've always been a huge fan of just like anything that has some sort of like electronic aspect to it.
Yeah.
But then, when it's, if it's dull and it's just like other people who just liked dance music and then they make their own dance music, like it always sounds cooler when people sort of bring their sort of varied influences, but then sort of channel it through.
Yeah. And
channel it through a fucking keyboard.
And that's kind of a cool thing about the synthwave scene or whatever is, I mean, fucking everybody's coming from somewhere else. It's all the stuff that gets grouped into it. There's a lot of different sounding, you go from like the softer end of things like Miami Nights or whatever, and then it gets to like Carpenter Brute, and it's such a vast spectrum that everyone's calling synthwave right now.
Yeah. Talk to me about, I remember seeing some pictures of you. You were signing some games because you had a track on the Watch Dogs soundtrack, the video game.
That came out of nowhere, dude. Like, they emailed me. Ubisoft emailed me. I didn't think it was real. I was calling their offices to fact check the guy because I was like, what the fuck kind of scam is this? They're going to ask for my credit card number or something. But no, it was totally legit. They found me on SoundCloud as far as I know. John Grooveworthy was actually almost on the game. I think he got emailed first.
Where did they use your track? Because I did play that game. I actually enjoyed it. I know everyone was sort of big on hating that game because it was like kind of overrated, but it was still like, it was still an enjoyable, I like open world, like city type games, and it had some fun mechanics and stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I think just the overhyping is what screwed that game. I mean, it still sold really well.
The way Ubisoft, I find, always works as far as their games are concerned is like they always overpromise. They deliver a first chapter that's like, it's like, it's good. And then usually like the part 2, like the sequel is, I bet you Watch Dogs 2 will be a really good game.
Yeah, probably.
That's the way that their pattern seems to be, but they sort of screw themselves because they'll just come out and like some guy will talk about how like their game is going to be like the most dynamic and amazing thing ever. And it's like, well, you know, rein it in. It's still just going to be a game. I mean, like, we know.
Yeah. It's fucking not any, you know, they acted like it was going to be a new open world format, and not. It's just, you know, it's a different kind of GTA, basically.
It worked well. I mean, like, I think that's the big thing. Because I remember when GTA first started getting popular, like on the older consoles, and whenever other companies tried to do the open world format, like they made some games that were fucking just bad, like just these bad games. So at least now we're getting to the point where like a lot of companies can do the open world and the game actually works.
Yeah, there's some good ones out there for sure.
So it's pretty cool. So yeah, like was your track, because I remember I got it and then I saw that you had a track on it and I was like, oh, where's the Gost track? And I didn't know if it was like a track that would play on the radio or if it played during a scenario.
It was, you know, the little side games you could play. Mm-hmm. It was like all the weird, like one was like you were jumping on trippy flowers and shit through the city, and one was like you were running over like demons, I think is what it's supposed to be. People's like heads are on fire and you just run over them with the car, and that's how you get points. And it's just kind of like a little break from the regular gameplay, and that's where they put two of my tracks, and Laserhawk had a track on that part too.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was cool they put us on the game, but everyone else on the game it was like, oh, this is what's playing right now, this is who's doing it. And ours was just like, here's some cool shit that you can try and figure out who it is if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, that makes sense now, because I don't think I think the mini games I did, there was this, I mean, I played the game to a point, and then I got, like, I would sometimes do that thing with games where I would get to a point where I'd be like, okay, I'm going to 100% this game. I think I can totally get the fucking Platinum Award. And then, because I'm on a PlayStation, so I'm getting the trophies. And then there was one mini game where you had to fucking do this drinking game with a guy.
Oh, yeah.
And it got to the point where I'm like, I'm not getting the fucking platinum, so I'm just done.
I do the same thing, man. If a game gets like to where I'm mad at it now, I'm just like, fuck this. I'm out.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I mean, there's two types of gamers. I know I see fucking Terminus Dan posting this stuff all the time, because I know he's in the camp of, you know, those guys who like those fucking... God, what are those games called? Like the Souls, Demon Souls, and
yeah.
Those games. And those games literally, like, and I get it. I totally get it when other people, you know, they just like, they want a game that challenges them and is hard. But I'm like the complete opposite. Like, I just like a nice, you know, that's why I love Elder Scrolls games and stuff. I just love that there's like hundreds of hours of content, but it's not incredibly hard.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
So it's just a lot of stuff to do. So like, you know, like Fallout will be that way too. Like I just prefer that than being mad. But anyway, so that stupid mini game in Watch Dogs, it was just like, oh, fuck you. Like, I'm not doing this. And so I don't think I ever saw that, because the other mini games I played, there was one where you're like kind of virtually shooting at targets. And then there was one where you had to like do races through the city and like run through the loops and stuff. And I don't think I ever saw the one where people's heads were on fire.
Well, it's kind of like, it was a little different than those games. The mini games you're talking about were like furthered you in the game. These games are like, I guess they're more like a side game. You could pretty much play them when there was the digital trips is what they were called.
Oh yeah, when you took the drugs from the dude.
Yeah, sorry, it's been a little while since I played the game, but
okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, because one of the digital trips, wasn't it like you'd pilot around like a giant spider or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and like shoot at cop cars. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Like, did you just go to like an EB Games and just say like, I'm on the soundtrack and I'll sign stuff here? Like, how did that work?
That was like the first contract I've ever really seen. They paid me like $1,000 a track, and that was just a flat fee, and that was it. But I was nothing. I mean, I had like 500 Facebook followers at the time, maybe more like 200 or 300. So I was like, fuck yeah. I mean, I had of course, Perturbator was telling me, he was like, I wouldn't take that deal. You need to get royalties. And I'm like, man, I don't have a leg to stand on here. I thought it would end up being a better thing, you know, since they put it in the digital trip section and didn't label who it was, I didn't really see hardly anything off of it promotion wise.
Well, maybe next time, man.
No, man, fuck Ubisoft. Yeah. I'm just kidding, man. They're really good people. They're super easy to work with. The guy my rep that worked with me, he was totally cool. He was like, send me more stuff and I'll pitch it to the game developers. I'm like he's like the in-between guy. And I've just been lazy. That's on me. I haven't sent him anything. That's stupid.
Well, you're doing other stuff, man.
Yeah, I guess.
fucking getting ready to do tours and things. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. Next year, everybody's wanting, like the whole Blood Music group to travel, and it's coming. I can almost promise you that if you live in a big city in the Western world, next year you will probably see us, have a chance to see us.
Well, let's listen to a track, and then we'll talk a bit about that, and then we'll talk a bit more about touring and stuff, because I find that interesting, because like not a lot of people I talk to actually, some people perform, but like the actual idea of like touring around and stuff is pretty neat. So let's listen to the track Battery Bitch.
That's right.
By Gost. And we'll listen to that, and then we'll talk a bit more.
All right, sounds good.
right, and that was Battery Bitch by Gost. And Gost is still with me here, so tell me a bit about that track.
The name is inspired by, Elizabeth Bathory, the most prolific serial killer of all time. Do you know who she was?
Tell me about Elizabeth Bathory.
She lived like a long time ago, okay? In England, I think. Sometime in Europe. It was like, I think the 1500s. And
are you qualified to tell this story?
Dude, there's so much mythology in this that I can't keep up with all of it anymore. But she basically became obsessed in her mid-age with, she thought blood from virgins specifically would keep her young. It was like the tree of life for her. So she gets credit for like fucking like 300 to 500 women. It's insane. And she would, have their blood drained into a bathtub and bathe in their fucking blood and drink it and shit. So
Jesus.
Yeah. So she was pretty intense.
That's a good choice of words. I was expecting just like she was pretty cool.
No way she was fun at dinner parties. Anyway, yeah. So is inspired the name by her and the band Bathory, obviously. So I can give a nod to my metal influences.
Are you thinking about this shit before you start writing songs?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that like, are you immersed in this fucking weird world and like, I think I'm going to write a track about this?
Actually, man, it gets my studio is really small and dark. And when I'm writing and I do get ideas and I actually put myself, like I'm trying to be Balberith and actually believe in Satan and fucking go the whole route. So I get pretty fucking ridiculously drunk in here and light candles and get into the mythology. And yeah, I mean, I get pretty, sometimes when I'll be looking over my shoulder, like I'm like, oh fuck, what if it is real?
Don't say Candyman 3 times into the fucking.
It's 5, and I won't.
Is it 5? Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, if you just say it 3 times, then Beetlejuice shows up and it's
5 times. I mean, that's a stupid number. Why did they choose that? Don't say it 5 times. You can get lost. Or like you get to number 4 and you're like, is that 5?
Where's Tony Todd? Okay, so as far as the touring goes, is someone else sort of setting that shit up for you? I mean, like how involved are you in the actual process?
Luckily, I don't have to do anything. I just signed with The Link Productions, which is a French company, and they work with Perturbator already, and they just signed me and Dan. And Seb is the guy that takes care of us, and he's fucking great, man. I mean, there's a lot that goes into bringing like an American into Europe. So like every place that we visit over there, I've got to have a visa for everything, and they take care of all that. So I feel extremely lucky, or maybe the devil is real and it's all paying off.
Was it a pain in the ass with your skull mask? Was there any objects that were like awkward and custom?
No, I'd usually get stopped pretty much everywhere, and they pull everything apart and do a bomb search on me and shit. But one time I overslept for a flight. I usually stay with a friend of mine in Dallas before I fly out. This one time I got completely hammered, and my flight was at like 6 a.m, which was a great idea. So I've missed my flight by like an hour and a half. And for some reason, I'm still speeding to the airport. Like, they're going to be there. Yeah. So they put me on standby, and I always have my mask and my carry-on, and they made me check it. And when I got to, I believe that was San Francisco, it was completely fucking broken.
What's it made of? Like, what do you mean it's broken?
Well, it's made of human skull. So no, it's like fiberglass.
Oh, interesting.
So it looks and feels like plastic, basically.
Right. So it can crack.
Yeah, easily.
See, I thought it was like, like on Halloween when they have the sort of like the rubbery looking masks.
No, I mean,
so it's got solid stuff to it?
Yeah, I've tried to use other materials and they don't look as good. They look like a Halloween mask.
Right.
And I don't want to look like I just left. I don't know what kind of stories you guys have there, but we have like Halloween Spirit is what it's called here. And they kind of only set up during the season.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like really cheap shit. And so I don't want to look like I was like, hey, this is a good idea. I'll just go down to the local Halloween shop and that'll be that. $10.
What surprises me is just how expensive everything is. Like you can get the Iron Man suit if you want for, like $70, but unless you want like it to look like Iron Man, then now it's $1,000.
I know,
like,
it's insane, and people pay that shit.
What's amazing is that even the expensive costumes still have some of the problems, like the where it's a mask and it's supposed to be like Iron Man or whatever, but it's only like half a head, with just like the strap.
Yeah.
And it's like the minute you want like a Boba Fett helmet that like goes over your whole head, all of a sudden it's $1,000 costume. Like there's no real like in between. It seems it's like you either have the fucking Boba Fett mask with a strap, but if you want the full Darth Vader mask, you're talking $1,000.
Yeah,
and then they're still kind of cheap, like it's
yeah, it is weird, but I guess those Halloween stores are so seasonal. They've got to make their money for like a month to last all year.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah,
but still, it's fucking stupid. $1,000. Yeah, they have those costumes here that you rent, and they're still like $800 to rent, and it's like, who in the fuck cares that much? Like, just paint your face and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. People love Halloween, man.
I do too. I mean,
I haven't dressed up in years. I think I've mentioned this before, but I said like I will one of these days when I can sort of handcraft myself a scorpion costume from Mortal Kombat. The day when I can do that.
Dude, actually, the guy that made my mask does some really sick Mortal Kombat masks.
I mean, part of it too is I feel like I have to be. Well, I don't know, because I always had this interpretation of the character Scorpion that he doesn't really need to be buff because he's a skeleton. Like, I always loved that he's a skeleton.
Yeah, that was my favorite part about the guy.
Yeah, honestly, my favorite characters in most games are the skeletons.
Yeah, I like them too.
Like, okay, so Scorpion, fucking Twisted Metal, like the original Twisted Metal.
I believe that's what my mask is based on.
Like Mr. Grimm?
I think so, yeah.
Because, yeah, Mr. Grimm was awesome because he was a fucking motorbike guy, but when he took his hat off, he was a skull underneath, and so that's why I loved him. And then later on, the stupid Twisted Metal games, they kept, like, changing the origin stories.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was just a guy with a skull mask, and I was just like, but he was a skull. Like, he was so much cooler when he was a skeleton.
Yeah, I know.
Well, dude, it was fucking, it was good talking to you, finally.
Yeah, you too, man. And if you want to stick to that story about not playing favorites, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, no, it's true.
No, okay. All right, man.
I want to make a joke. I want to make a joke by throwing another artist under the bus, but I don't want to do it.
Who?
Because I was thinking, like, because that would prove, you know what I mean? Like, hey, it's totally true. I had so-and-so on the show, right? I can't do that. That would make me a bad host. Anyways, man, you have a fucking lovely day.
You too.
And it was good talking to you. And maybe we'll have you on again sometime after you fucking do your tour and stuff, and you can tell us some stories.
Yeah, maybe I'll be a little less awkward and more cool.
Yeah. All right, dude. Take care.
You too, man.
And that was Gost. G-O-S-T, Gost. Check out his stuff. He'll be coming to a city near you at some point. And that's all I know, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. That is the end of the show, by the way. I hope you guys tune in to the next episode. Of course, we are now on Power 85. So check out my Twitter and the Facebook page for updates on when the show is airing and stuff like that. I'll always post little reminders, let you know what time we're going to be on. And that is all I know. So I hope you guys have a lovely day. Enjoy yourselves, and tune in to more Beyond Synth next time. The end.